got to get a better transition though, man, between the like waiting screen and this screen,
Yeah.
as opposed to just jumping. What's up, everybody?
Um,
What's going
yeah,
on?
like having like a gator open his mouth or something, and then like out pops the screen.
Yeah, like out pops this one. It's like from the other one to some type of, because it's not the main intro, because you want to say something and then have the main intro. So a gator, that's a good one. It's like, the gator like either chomping or that, or maybe
Yeah.
like that, and then I don't know. That's a good idea. I like that.
hmm
Ideas.
Ideas, man. That's where it's at. This is where creativity's flowing.
Mhm. Before you, or while we're waiting for people to get in, how was your like day trading today? Pretty decent.
Yeah, well, I decided over the weekend to I was just switching computers to switch over my charts from TradeStation to TraderView. So
Mm,
I spent most of the day fumbling around trying to work out all the kinks in the system of having charting in one platform and execution in another. So my rule was anytime somebody called out a stock, I was going to go buy it in paper money, of course, to work out any of the kinks of like typing it in one system and seeing how it worked out. I think I got most of it worked out,
mm,
but it's different because I've always kept charting and execution in the same platform. So
So
definitely,
you do all of your through you trade through TradeStation or you trade through TOS?
yeah.
So you do everything like there. You don't have the mix of okay.
Well, now I have a mix. Now I'm using trading,
Yeah.
Trader View, and TradeStation for execution
Okay.
because it was very challenging keeping track of the pivots on daily charts that don't synchronize on TradeStation
Yeah.
charts. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I'm
How about your day? How was your day today?
I just traded really small, so it was really flat. Um,
Yes.
I expected it to be because it was like you had all the big run up days. I was like, man, the worst thing I could do today, I don't care how good or bad the market is, just like statistically, is come in heavy. So I came in like 5 contract day, just max and just kind of scalped a little bit, stayed pretty flat overall. Probably good because I had a few losses that I'm like, man, if I was full size in this, I'd be coming back right now. But because I was able to just stay small, and it's so weird how if you're trading small, like the loss doesn't hurt as much, and it's
It
like it comes
doesn't.
back quicker. It's like, well, shouldn't, like, hypothetically, if I always do 30 contracts, and what up guys, um shouldn't like it just be just as easy to make it back? But it's not, and it's just weird. It's like it's not necessarily easier, but like if you're starting off small and you expect a choppy day, you know and then you like get chopped around a little bit, it's like, oh, I just got chopped around and whatever, but I'm like down $500. It's like, okay.
Yeah, there's something that I haven't really read too much about, and that is bumping up your psychological threshold of like your money tolerance, not just risk wise, but what you're accepting as gains.
Hmm.
Um, like you said, like it doesn't hurt when I'm gonna make up a number like 5 contracts. It's like, oh man, it's yeah, I lost 20, I lost 100, whatever it is, and then you amp it up. It's like, no, technically at 30, if you did 30 contracts all the time, you'd get psychologically used to it, but
Hmm.
that doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, so
There seems to
I
be something happening else there.
I do and did get psychologically used to it, but the
Mm-hmm.
problem, like, I'm having to get psychologically used to, evening Dan, down. I'm gonna have to get psychologically used to sizing down and
Mm.
actually being happy with sizing down, because 30 to 50 contracts in Tesla, and now I'm doing five. It's like
It's a
I
big
have
difference.
to be happy with the different results, and the reason I'm sizing down is the market and the movement is too choppy for me to like trade them well, unless I'm doing
Mm.
Kelly and I'm holding something, and in that case I'm not going to do that. So it's like, okay, I have to realize that I'm a good trader for trading good and for just being consistent and green, not like printing these big days. Or maybe you print them and you just traded well, more, well throughout the day or
Mm.
something. It's just a different mindset. So it's like I got really used to being 20K down on a day. Like it didn't even bother
Wow.
me. I'm like, I don't even care. but
Mm-hmm.
but it got to a point where the market wasn't good enough to make that back scalping. And early on, it was like, I don't care, I can be down that, and it's like I'm gonna come back. But now it's like if I get down that, it's like I'm done. It's like I can't, like, could you make it back? Yeah, maybe, but it's a lot harder now. So I had to make the switch, and I'm still making the switch to like consistency on just consistent trading on smaller size and kind of learning that risk management in a choppy market, as opposed to like it doesn't matter, you're going to get it back. You just have to keep doing this and just keep hammering away. So it's actually been a change, because eventually you do get used to it, I think.
Hmm. I like what you said though about having size down, about that almost feeling significantly different when you're printing larger days, and how anyone interprets a smaller day's win versus a large day win, and that expectation can definitely change a mindset.
It's all mental. So got a few people in now. Welcome,
Hey
guys.
guys.
Welcome to the show. We've already kind of just been talking for a little bit, but we're gonna kick it off. We're gonna talk a little bit about Discord. We're gonna talk some about trade review, a trade review show that Drew does. He does it live and live on a Zoom link that he posts in several places, including in the Discord. And our Discord is now going to be home for the review of the show, and I think you're going to be messing with it, and we're going to talk about it, kind of the evolution of the show, into something hopefully we can turn it into, to where we can do it through Discord if it allows it, through your Zoom. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So welcome, Drew, and I'll give you a second. Let's kick the show off, and then I got a couple questions for you. So here we go, guys. All right. So again, welcome, Drew, and tell the people who don't know. Give us your story. Your story as a trader, where you came from, how you got into the Newsbeat room, and then, or if you came elsewhere, and then subsequently into our the Discord group, and um, yeah, what's your history
Yeah.
as a trader? How do you get going?
Yeah. So my history as a trader goes back to early 2000s. The first one of the first stocks I bought, three stocks, was AMD, WorldCom, and Enron. And I bought them through a custodial account that my brother had opened up for me. And we all know what happened to Enron, and we all know what happened to WorldCom. And this was when I was in high school. I don't know if anyone is out there who remembers Daytech, but that was the trading. That was the platform back then. $20 commissions. I remember it pretty well. And I always just piqued my interest. And in graduate school, I was doing a lot of stats and programming, and I was like, what better time than now, after the financial collapse in 2008, than to jump into this thing and try it out. I was still living at home, and so I started doing that. And then I actually traded with T3 for a while. I went to their office and traded there in State Street, for I think 2 years before I moved to where I'm at now. And that's where things sort of started coming together, a lot more, and then came together more after. And I found myself in Mark's room, after I had honestly been on tilt for a little while. I had one of my pets died, and like just a couple of life things happened, and I was just looking for more support and more community, because I'm sure maybe others can attest to this, but it can be kind of lonely as a trader, just sitting home by yourself all day behind screens. So it was really nice, and Mark was such a kind guy, and he had so much great information. So, and that's how I found myself here. And one of the things to kind of tie it into what you're saying is I was a huge fan of SMB, and I had applied to their job offering, which
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and they have this system of teaching traders, and one of their big things is trade review. And how can you make things better? How can you add size to this? How can you keep scaling up and do it methodically rather than haphazardly? So I was like, man, well, I can do. I mean, I love asking questions. I mean, I've done jujitsu for a long time, and man, I will ask questions till I'm blue in the face. So I was like, if I can help people I can ask the right questions to them, maybe they can reflect on what they did and get something from it, and I'll learn through that process too. Like they say, teach once, learn twice. So that's where this impetus came from, and I'm really happy that Geronimo and Eddie were kind enough to support me putting the link in the T3 chat, and you as well, Gator. Thank you
Yeah,
for
man.
allowing Discord to be the home of trade review.
Yeah, I really like it, and I've watched I've watched the what's the archive show now. So if you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what we're talking about, within our Discord, this is the current, and this is going to be kind of revamped, and we're going to constantly be kind of be adding some stuff to this. In the middle of this, you'll see down here a new link that's recently been opened up, and it has I'm not positive if other people can see announcements because I'm still working on kind of linking some bots to some different things, but we have a rules, which is the rules for the trade review show. And the trade review show, it's at what 4:15 every day after the market closes,
Yeah, 4:15 to about 4:50, 4:45.
and it
Try
goes
to.
on. And how does the show work?
Yeah, so basically what we do is I borrowed the methodology from S&B in the sense of we need something to compare what you did to. And the only way to do that is to compare it to your overall plan for this style of trade. And so if you said, okay, every time the price touches the 21 EMA, I'm going to get long. Um, and then you come in with a trade and you bought the 8 EMA, well, we know that's not part of your plan. So one of the things we also did was we did a whole week of trading plan reviews, which is also part of it. So we go through your trading plan for that trade. We will ask like, what was the big picture? What were you seeing in context on the larger time frame of that chart, that stock? What was happening in the market? What was the context that you were in? We ask where you entered and exit. Where was your stop? Why'd you put your stop there? And then we ask some reflective questions like, hey, how could you do this better in the future? Where could you add size? What would you change so that you could add more size? And just, and then I'll ask the community and anyone else there, like, what do you guys think? What do you think of this? What feedback would be helpful to him or her?
Hmm.
So that's usually how it goes down.
Okay, so it gives people a chance to, and maybe even other people who are learning or who are trying to get up there and they want to see, well, why did somebody take this? Why did somebody do this? Why did somebody do that? It gives them kind of the opportunity to go in and hear that and see that, and kind of instead of just trading and scalping and taking every, just whatever, you're like, okay, let's think through our positions. Let's actually look at why we're taking this trade, helping people actually implement a trading plan or an idea for what you're looking for every day in the market. Because sometimes, honestly, it was just like, early on when I was doing it, it was coming in. The trading plan was just take the first thing Tesla breaks out, you take it and you just sit there and you just scalp it as it's going up, and it still sometimes works, but that's generally speaking not a healthy, sustainable long-term thing. You should have a greater kind of market picture. So you're kind of probing the people who are willing to come on and who want to talk and want to share, and people can say, I did this trade, this trade. Is it usually a bunch of them, a little bit less? Like some people just might show one or two trades, or are they showing like a lot of them, or does it matter? It's whatever people want to do.
Yeah, so we usually will end up focusing on one person and one trade. Usually there's enough discussion and analytics that need to go into understanding what the plan is to then critique and understand what they did that day.
Mm-hmm.
So like sometimes people will not realize that they did things, right? So you'll ask like, oh, what's this trade? And they'll give you two or three reasons why, and then a couple of bars later you'll say, hey, the same thing happened, why didn't you take that trade? And they're like, oh, because it was the third time it happened, right? They
Mm-hmm.
have some methodology that they may have missed that now everybody also gets to see. And it's sort of Socratic in that way of asking questions and being reflective.
Okay.
uh,
Yeah, stepping into the hot seat. It's like, here, sit down and find out why you're wrong.
yeah. Yeah, we
Or
do
why
a
you
we
were
do
right.
not to make anyone feel too bad about their decisions. I mean, lately we've had been talking more about good trades, but I really encourage people to come and talk about their bad trades,
Hmm.
the times that they got bent, the times when they kept re-entering, and there's just a whole slew of like entry marks and exit marks, like right there, like zigzag lines. Come in and talk about what their mental process was and how they can stop those from happening in the future.
There's something powerful that comes into like coming on and actually venting and talking, and not just venting or complaining, but talking through something. Because you could even be like, I mean, honestly, you could be mad that Gator's on the mic making money and you're like struggling. Or it's like other people are calling out plays, or Geronimo and the VTF, or Drew's like, he hit this one. And there can actually be like a therapeutic positive effect to coming on and even listening to other people, but to have to talk yourself about what you're seeing or why something is hard or why it's not hard, and to start kind of breaking down some of the trades that you're taking or listening to how other people view their trades. I can't tell you how much like benefit I get from listening to other people tell me like why they took a trade, why they didn't take a trade. It's like I
Yeah.
did this, I did this. It's like, huh, okay, this
There,
is how they see that.
and there are, I mean, now that we've been doing it, I think about two months now, I can begin to see the patterns of very successful traders, that there's always multiple elements that they are taking. It's never just like, oh, it touched the EMA. There's always multiple features that are popping out. And I haven't quite put something together yet, but you can tell that there is something to it. And by, like you said, by watching them and hearing how that they're thinking their process, you get to sort of add it to your playbook or your quiver to see how it can help you.
Yeah, you kind of attach it, and it's like maybe I'll use this, maybe I won't. Maybe you see that set up, and you're like, huh, okay,
Yeah.
that's an interest. Like I see that happening. Oh wait, I see that happening again. Okay, and maybe you don't use it the same way as them, but yeah, it's a tool for your toolbox. And props to the people who come on and talk. It's hard.
Oh
It's I think
man.
great, but really hard to talk about your trades on
I
both
think,
sides.
and that's, yeah, I agree. I think, you know, I have to admit that one of the things that I know keeps me honest is thinking, do I really want to have to explain to the people that show up who know me in trade review that I did this thing that I said I wasn't going to do? And the answer is no. And it's kept me out of so many mistakes because I'm accountable to somebody else besides myself now too.
Mm-hmm. And you actually you view it that way. It's like you don't just view it as you're alone, like you said earlier. You were like
Um,
struggling because you want to support, but you're by yourself. And being as a trader, you can be by yourself. You can literally feel like you're just alone doing this, and nobody in your general life gets it because nobody else does it. And so having people that you can talk to, and yeah, we just talk in chat, but to
yeah.
actually be able to come on a mic or to be able to come on and share like what you were looking at and trying to figure stuff out analytically, and then hear, you know, there's a lot of value in that. And
Oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, I think it's, I can speak for myself in the sense that I thrive when there's a social environment involved.
mhm,
I take that very seriously in my obligation to it, my responsibility there. And, I look at people like Geronimo who are unbelievably skilled, and I remember him saying like, oh yeah, I joined this chat room. So I think there's some human component of us wanting to connect and work with each other in this field. And I think it's great that you do the show, that we have trade review, that we have that chat.
it's a big deal. Like that's why I like doing it so much. It takes time and stuff, but you kind of begin to get to know people, and they're not just names somewhere. It's like, yo, these are
Yeah,
actual people that are here doing this. These
yeah,
are like, you're a real person somewhere.
yeah, absolutely. Like Elizabeth. Elizabeth shows up. I see her in the chat. Makes you have
Hmm.
accountability for your trades. If you're going to tell other people why you did that trade, she shows up consistently, and it's just like I feel like I know her now, like we've chatted and, I care about the people that show up. Like I want them to be good. And when somebody doesn't show up for a couple days, I message them. I'm like, hey, I hope everything's okay. Like this isn't the place where you need to feel ashamed or embarrassed because you made a mistake. Like this is the place you come. We're your friends. We're here to help you, you know?
Yeah, and JD's like Jay just said, it was kind of like the like an email review or something. This, in a sense, is somebody's response, somebody's stuff that they can come out there and kind of talk about this. And if you do come to these shows and you are a part of them, you don't have to say anything. I
No.
assume like you can just be there and watch and listen. And I wish I could be on more of them. I might start listening on my phones, but I usually have to like run up like nanny leaves at 4 and then I've got the boys and I'm playing with them upstairs, and so I usually am missing that time. Then the wife gets home, and if I'm doing trading stuff, she's like, haven't you been doing this all day? What are you doing? It's like, you're going to do it again
Yeah.
tonight on your show too. It's like, just stop it.
Mhm.
But I do, I enjoy now that I see. So this is where they're going to be posted. I think we're going to work on something here to kind of improve, or to kind of get this to where it's whatever. But we'll have like the shows archived. I think you're going to record them, and then we're still working out kinks, so give it a little bit while we kind of improve this section of the Discord, and finding ways that it could work. So you guys who are watching this, if you do come, and if you do, there's a link to Discord in the video description here. But the archive show, the old shows, this will be if you want to watch later in the day, which is something I'll do. I'll go back and watch later in the day
Mhm.
because it's when I
Yeah.
have time.
And I am very much appreciative that Trading Review has a home because I feel that there's a lot of personal stuff that's shared, that people are saying with their voices and their faces, and I don't think that has a place on YouTube, which is why I'm really appreciative that we can use the space on Discord that you have, to post this stuff because we're all trying to help each other here. We're all trying to get better.
Hmm. And there'll be another thing we might do here soon, just as a random note, is there's this section which is called a stage, and you can kind of create events in here, and you can start stuff. Let's see if I don't. Hopefully, it doesn't kick me off anything here. And everybody could be in it, and then there's somebody up on stage, and that person can invite people up to talk. And we may at some point use this as part of this show. And I've actually thought about moving the voice channels to a stage channel too on Discord, because it's kind of easier to see if somebody's talking or if they're not, and you could just drop yourself off the mic. But the problem here is you can't share video. Um, and and so for the guys watching, that's why this is here. If you're wondering why this is here, I'm not sure if other people can see it or not. And then same for the video. At some point that may be used, but right now it's done through Zoom, and I think that works just fine. And like you said, it's private, not just anybody can come in. You post a link every day, I believe,
Yep.
um, in our main trading chat. Like you'll post a link to the show. If we scroll up and see, did you post one today? Or I know you created an event. There'll be an
Yeah, I
yeah.
think I think today I didn't post the
Okay.
link in the Discord. I just made the event.
Yep.
I'll probably continue to post them in the Discord as well.
That's fine. And you guys will see, if you are watching and you see an event up here, like I'm going to start doing them for the shows every night, you'll see an event tab up here, if there's an event that day. So at the beginning of the day, if Drew knows he's going to do a show, he can create an event saying it'll be at 4:15, and then I'll come on. Or let's say I have a show that night. You might see two events. Like, oh, what two events is in the Discord? So if you ever want to know if there's an event, I'm going to try to get better at it. And it's something that we'll try to do, and that just lets people know that there's an event, or that there's an event going live, something that somebody in the Discord is hosting, and they can go in there and they can post what they're posting, and then they'll post it here in the main chat or in an announcement tab we might create. And there's something else I was thinking about for this while you're here, is the chat. So
Yep.
afterwards, if people want, and we haven't talked about this, so I don't know. We'll just talk about it here, I guess.
Oh,
People can possibly post, and I don't know what you think about this, but post trades that they did, maybe that they want someone to review after the fact. Hey, I didn't have time for that, but here's a chart picture of like this is the trade, time entry, price, and all that. Here was what I was looking at. And you can actually create a thread and have people comment on that chart. So like if I was to type, and I'll just delete this, but if I was to type like, Tesla M1, whatever, I could throw this in here, and then you can actually, let me move this here. There we go. I believe you can create a thread. So members can create a thread around this. If somebody posts a picture of a chart, they post a trade that they took, you could create a thread, and then everybody can comment. Instead of just filling the chat up with 1,000 different things that you can never find, if you want to review that specific thread or have people comment on your specific trade, hey, why do you guys think this? I took this Mark 5, or I took this 5-minute breakout, this hour-long breakout. It didn't work. Why do you guys think it didn't work? Like, some of you guys were going short when I was going long. It's like Drew was calling this trade out long, and I took it short. What were we seeing? And we can post that here in this trade review section, and we can actually, give people maybe an after the show ability to do some trade reviews and to kind of talk through different things.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. That thread feature is awesome. And I would love to have people post in there in that chat section. Like you said, posting or throwing up a photo of their trade and getting a chance to analyze it and other people giving feedback. There's so much value in trying to think through how to help somebody else, that it's incredible, and that would be a wonderful chance if people were able to jump into that thread, throw up a chart, throw up an idea, and maybe maybe at some point this week I'll put one in there, just to kind of get the ball rolling so people can see how it's done. But yeah, that's a fantastic idea.
And I'll do it too. Like I'll take, especially if there's a trade that I call out on the mic or something, um, that I liked or that people ask about. I'll like post something here and give people that opportunity to, and then they can go back and look at their charts and they can kind of do a breakdown or tell me maybe I could have played it better or maybe I couldn't have, and even some losses that I have. If I take a breakdown that I thought was coming in and didn't, I can post stuff like that so people can kind of see some of those winners and losers and why people might have stayed away or taken those trades and stuff. So for those watching who are watching the future, if you do want to do that and you can't catch a show, maybe
Yeah.
that's something that you can do to actually benefit from this, because I can't always catch shows. But this is something that we can do to actually help the rest of the community that want to learn and that want to see, well, why did you take this? Why did you take that?
Yeah, absolutely. Without giving the person away, there was somebody who I think the Newsbeat room, the Discord, would find very, very successful, and that was on Trade Review last week. Or I have to write to see if I can post their show. And it was so fascinating, like you said, to sort of like jump into their mindset to see what they were thinking, what they weren't thinking, how they were moving through it, and to have that an additional avenue of getting to experience that in the Discord and that chat would be fantastic.
And this will also clean up the main chat, guys. So again, not to get off topic, but that's charts. This chat just gets filled up, and it's like you see a conversation happening, but it's really hard to follow, and it's really off topic, or there's other stuff thrown in there in our main chat. So something we could even do in this chat is if you do have something specific, you can create a thread. I think I allow everyone to create a thread. So all members can create a thread if there's a topic, so we're not just spamming the chat. But moving that down here, so instead we have, that isn't a trade review chat. We have this as the trade review for after the fact, and then your show for home for people that want to come. I think it's going to be a good addition to the room. I think it's really going to help people out. I appreciate you doing it and like taking
And
the I guess what's the word I'm looking for, the initiative
yeah,
and
it's
sacrifice to do it.
I mean, it is such a pleasure. Even like I love Elizabeth. And, you know, when she said in the chat, even if I don't share my trades in trade review, when I take a trade now, I think about it and journal it more thoroughly because I might have to explain it to Drew later. I mean, you know, I think that that accountability aspect is just, yeah, I'm just so happy that like people are benefiting from it. And I think the more people and the more um, um, people that we have coming in and coming through just generate more ideas. And even Elad, this is going to be legendary. Trade review is going to be big for some new guys like me. Yeah. Um, and Elad, you know, when you come in, you can bring in a trade that worked, you can bring in a trade that didn't, and you can ask questions to these people who have good trades or bad trades. Let it be a lab of learning.
And let it be a place for people to kind of, like you said, learn to pick up what things that other people were watching, or if you do understand something that somebody else has, and it's the end of the day, it's a great place to come in and to kind of pick up a few new tricks, a few new
Yeah.
tools for your toolbox, as it were.
Hmm. Yeah, I like gonna bring a lot of trades that don't work. Yeah, bring it, dude. Bring it, please. Bring them all in. Bring them in. We love them.
Yep, that's what it does, and I hope I can come on some of them when I have time, and maybe there'll be some days and just watch and hear how you do it, hear y'all do it live, and it's just good that we have such a community, man, that we can trade with and people that
Oh,
care, and it's more than just like a chat room to make money.
yeah, you know, I think it's nice that there isn't any like dollars associated with how many people show up or how they show up or why they show up, and it's just really nice to just have a place of like giving to one another. I agree. It's just it's awesome. Um, um,
So what's your trading style? If we'll get on this, so y'all know, but and we'll definitely come back if you have any questions, or even if you have suggestions for the trade
oh,
review stuff. Like hit us with it. And
please, yeah, and that's what I wanted to mention, Gator. Yeah, at some point, I would love to have you on one to like review a trade or a good trade or a bad trade, but I'd also like for you to take the moderator seat one day and maybe give feedback to other people. I mean, I'm sure you'll see my style, and you know, maybe I'll pick up some different questioning techniques from you, but you have a lot of experience, and I think that would really resonate with a lot of people.
I appreciate it. I'd love to. I'll set a
Yeah,
day in the near future, and maybe I can do it once a week or a couple times where I can come on, and even guest with you,
that'd be
or just
awesome.
watch, and we can kind of review them together. Or if you're out, I can take them, and as long as I plan it beforehand, I should be fine, and do a couple of them, and try to help some people out.
100%. We can absolutely plan it well in advance, and we'll be there. So,
Yeah, I'd love to do that, man. Definitely, I appreciate the invite.
yeah.
So what's your trading style? Are you like you see like me, the hyper aggressive, takes 100 trades a day in like an hour of trading, and scalps like or Amazon or Tesla 5 times in a minute, or are you and I'm not that bad now, but or are you kind of like are you more technical? Did you really like hone in on the C strategies? Is that kind of what got you there, or are you like
Yeah.
bigger picture
Uh,
stuff?
yeah. So prior to being in the room, I was more technical and holding longer term. And what appealed to me about the C strategies at that point in my life were the quick wins and getting that sort of spirit back and that info back of like, yeah, I know you can keep getting green, keep staying green, keep like adding to that green a little bit. Versus I used to trade. I'm nowhere near as good as Geronimo, but it was similar in style where like you'd take some pretty big losses. So it was really appealing in that regard. And now that I'm sort of like feeling my bearings back, I'm leaning more towards Geronimo's style, kind of that Oliver Les narrow state, wide state sort of thing. Um, and that's where I really like do my best trading.
That's more of your bread and butter than the Momo
Yeah.
stuff. Because
Mm-hmm.
my, I'm definitely like Momo. Like momentum trading is just like that's where but there's not a ton of it right now because you're hitting resistance all the time. It's like there's a new trend line every 2 points, and you're just like, stop hitting the stinking levels. It's like I want. It's like you in NASCAR. It's like I want to be in front. It's like Ricky Bobby. It's like I want to
Yeah.
be in front. I want clean air, and I want to go to the moon. And it's like, but that's not where we're at right now. So I don't know. I'm trying to find that mix of the two that like can make
Yeah.
me happy.
Yeah, I agree. Like I love the idea of Tesla scalping, and I mean so many people do it so well. And some of the part of to start I can sort of tie this into the trade review, and part of the impetus for this was that it's um it's really challenging to figure out how people are thinking through a trade when they just call it out. Like, hey, I'm in Tesla green to red, right? Because when you zoom out on that green to red, you're like, yeah, but there was resistance there. But yeah, it was below the 200. That looked okay. Yeah, right. So you can start finding all these things that like may or may not have worked, and bringing that into trade review, you start to see the pieces that they put together. And when when I would hear those trades called out, either from um, even yourself or Rose or Geronimo or Mark back in the day, I'm like, what are they thinking? Like, how are they concluding that this is the scalp to take, not the one that I just took that didn't work?
Hmm.
Or am I not taking enough of them? Right. So I mean that's sort of that's another part of it.
It's kind of like the joke me, Mitchell, and Rose have been having. It's like the third time Tesla goes through. It's like, hang on, it popped. All right, sell it. It's coming back through. No, don't worry about it the second time. That's just going to shake you out. Okay, here's the third time. All right, here we go. And it's like, boom, it ripped. It's like, there you go. Third time's a charm. You
Yeah.
just play the third strike. It's like
Hmm.
baseball. Wait on the pitch. Nope, wait. And it's just dumb stuff like that. But you really start picking it up. And I think my best scalps today were probably those in Tesla. Like I wasn't heavy, but it was like, nah, I'm ignoring the. It's like I took the first one and I sold right away. I if I played the second one, I bought it way when it pulled down, and then the third one was like, okay, it's like okay, it pulled down. All right, buy the third one. It's gonna rip. It pops. Don't worry, you don't have to sell it on the third breakthrough. Just leave it. All right, there it goes. All right, now I'm gonna sell it after it gets that second pop. So it's like the third pop is the only time you get follow through, and it's just like weird stuff like that you start noticing. It's like one of
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that, because I think in that statement there you mentioned two or three trades, right? And maybe on the mic somebody would call out one of those trades. And at the end of the day, you're like, man, I took like 200 trades. And it's like, whoa, but I only heard like five of them called out. So like, why did those five get called out? So I feel like, and I'm not like
Hmm.
criticizing, it's just it's the nature of the context of which we're operating. You can't call out 200 trades that you took. It's cumbersome. It's too much. And you have to do your own thing to stay focused so you can earn a living. Um, and trade review, in my opinion, sort of tries to synthesize that disconnect between, hey, I called this one out or I didn't call this one out. Or when I wrote this in the chat, this is what I was thinking and this is what was going on. But I didn't tell you about this other one because I didn't really like it as much, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it's like you call things out. For me, it's like a I have an expectation that other people can get paid with minimal risk.
Mm.
Not all the time, but it's two pronged. And then I'll answer Elizabeth's question. It's two pronged. The first prong is early in the day. It's as simple as you within the first 15 minutes to 20 minutes you have legitimate C strategies that have only this is the first time they've triggered. There's still momentum happening. These are plays where if I just say the words Nvidia here,
Yeah.
Tesla, and like anybody who trades with us who's watched the videos, who know what we do, are like, okay, yeah, Mark one, yeah, yeah, green takes red. Yep, that's the first red bar on the 2 minute. It's pulling in. That's the first know your limit 8. It's like I don't have to say anything. So at that point in the day, all we're doing on the mic between Rose, Mitchell, CT, and myself is identifying like this is a setup, and it's that simple. It's just like there could be sometimes I'll be like yeah AMD, Google, Moderna, Tesla, and it's just like all of those have legitimate setups, and I might just maybe be like I like Tesla and Tesla in the video because of how they're moving, or there's a trigger nearby. So I'll just call out those two kind of names. Um, and so early in the day, it's just as simple as like these names are working, and that's really all we're trying to say. We're not really trying to do much more than that. Then as the day goes on, it kind of morphs, and we're still trading, but then it morphs into like things that I think I could tell somebody else to do and they can make money in.
Hmm.
And I could do it in a way that if there's other people on the mic, it's not like just me constantly talking, because if I'm the only one on there, I could just be like, I'm doing something. But even then, I think I talked about it on Friday's show. It's impossible to make money following me. And my assumption is when I talk, that
Yeah, you can.
somebody is going to follow me. And I
Yeah,
don't want you to, but you're going to.
yeah.
And so
No,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I, you know, there in trade review, we've had people come in and say like, "Oh, I jump into Geronimo's trade, and I commented on your last video about your
Mm-hmm.
thought process behind taking a Geronimo trade." And we all do it because you're like, you see how successful he is. We see how successful you are, and it's so tempting to be like, "Oh, this is going to be the one that works." Um, and I think we've all added layers to taking call outs where, I know personally for me in my plan, I say, unless I recognize a reason that he's taking this trade, I can't take it. I won't do it
Hmm.
anymore. Because I don't reckon whether it's a pullback or it's something, if it just looks like a bunch of chart candlesticks, it's like I'm missing something that he's missing. And I'd like to find out what it is,
Mm-hmm.
but I need to take that time to do that, not be rushed.
Because your risk is not going to be the same as the person
Oh,
who's calling it out. It's
yeah.
like you might be like you might be okay, like I'm doing my normal, let's say like your normal contract size is just, I don't know, let's say, 10 contracts is your normal size and something, and you're trading that and scalping around, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm taking this, and my risk is 3 points or something like Geronimo. He has like a 2 to 3, like maybe $1 range in something, and I might be taking a trade where it's like I buy it and I'm gonna give it a little bit of room, or I'm not gonna give it room. So you might jump in and be like, oh, I don't want to take a 50 cent to $1 loss. And I'm like, I'm cool taking a $2 loss here. I don't care because of like my risk reward. It's another layer of that. You can't just jump in,
Absolutely.
and that's why I don't call some things out, is because without like a built-in understanding of people knowing what I'm doing, I'm just going to make you lose money.
Yeah, and I know I don't. I mean, I'm appreciative of
Mm-hmm.
you, but the level of thought that has to go into running these rooms is significant. You're not only processing for yourself now, you're processing for people in the room, and I mean, you don't. I mean, it sounds to me like, I take things, high level responsibility, but like I know I would feel responsible if somebody was like, "Oh man, I lost money on your call out," and I'd be like, man, I wouldn't feel good about it. So I'd be extra careful too. Like it's got to be really hard, man.
There's a balance that comes into it,
Yeah.
definitely. I don't know, but there's definitely a balance that kind of comes in with calling stuff out and being there, and and we mess up a lot too. Um, you know, and we don't always do it right, or sometimes we're too like laughing and joking when other people are having hard times, and sometimes we're too lax and other people, and and we definitely, it's definitely like some days you do it better than other days. Some days your call outs are good, and some days it's just not. Some days you just can't seem to call, and you're not trading well, so your call outs aren't well, and you don't want to hurt other people because you're not making good trades.
Yeah.
It's definitely a balancing act.
Yes, it sounds like it. I mean, how do you manage that?
For me, just do it.
Yeah.
Like it's as simple as like it's just accepting it and telling all the time, like we tell people all the time, it's like don't follow me. It's like don't follow me. I do it by posting these videos. So like I'm very clear about what I do and how I do it and the type of trading I'm doing and my mindset going into it. So I allow myself to kind of, put myself out there through the videos. So then if you actually follow what we do, and through the Discord and through my videos and Mark's videos with the strategy and Geronimo, and if like you have an understanding of what I'm doing. So when you look at it, it's like you can, in a sense, kind of see what I was looking at and why I took a trade there. So I tried to be transparent with that. And then, our disclaimer, I'm not giving you stock trading advice. I'm here to entertain. Like, if y'all weren't here and there was no audience, me, Rose, CT, and Mitchell will be in our own Discord room, like, talking and trading.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be the four of us and nobody listening. Like,
Mhm.
and or whoever else would be in there, and it would just be us talking back and forth because I make money trading with people that are seeing the same stuff. So we're just allowing, I view it as I'm allowing an audience to kind of like peek into, if we were all sitting here with four computers talking and none of us were seeing each other's screens, and we were just, I like this, I like this,
Yeah.
like that's the feel of what we're trying to do.
Hmm.
And since I look at it mentally as that, I'm just telling you what I'm doing. And like Elizabeth said, like JR lost 25K one morning. I've been down 15, 20, 30K on the mic, and I'm still just sitting there talking, taking trades. And y'all don't know it. And that's not normal, but it's happened before. It's like, well, what am I going to do? I'm just going to sit here and trade. And usually I'll say I'm down or I'm red or like I'm not having a good day today. But, you have to be able to like, I don't know. Yeah, it's tough, and I don't think about it a ton, but you just kind of do it, and you try to, I don't know, find that balance.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think one of the things that I hear you saying is like, yeah, it is entertainment, but what really it is, it's a social group, you know. And I remember one time when I was in the office at T3, I remember calling out Starbucks, and I'm like, oh, Starbucks got relative strength, right? Because we're all lined up on desks.
Mm-hmm.
There's like five people next to me, and there's a bunch of people behind me. And the guy who was sort of our lead at the time came by like 2 hours later. He's like, "You still in Starbucks?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "I am." He's like, "Why aren't you in it anymore?" He's like, "That was a great trade," and that like camaraderie really how it makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. And I love seeing people call stuff out in chat too, like
Yeah.
names and stuff. Like Little Curbster throws stuff up, or other people throw stuff up. And I'm just like, oh, I wasn't looking at that. It's like I only have so many charts and so much screen space, and if somebody else who I respect is calling out some stuff, I'm like, yo, let me check that out. Oh, there's a trigger nearby. Okay, let me put that in.
Yeah.
It's good to have that community around you.
Oh yeah, it's so valuable, and I think it's so good too that we have another outlet for that community to add more value with going over each other's trades now. Um,
Unless you call out Boeing, screw you.
yeah, I know.
I'm not trading
You
Boeing. I
really
hate
hate
that name.
going.
I don't even think I've lost that much money in it, but it's just like I've never. It's like news flow, nothing. It's like 100% lose rate. It's like I'm not trading this name.
Yeah, no, I have a vendetta against Apple. I have never made money in Apple. I know everybody else is has some people have made their livings on Apple. We do not get along.
I used to. That's what I got started on back in the day. It was like Apple. I woke up and I got like when the market opened, it was like I was taking the first one and done, and Mark won an Apple, and that was pre-split, and then that was it. Good for you, Elizabeth. I'm glad somebody can do it. You're a better trader than me. I cannot, and it's just my trading style doesn't match with that name. But to answer your earlier question, Elizabeth, I don't have a checklist other than what's in my head. Like, there's no specific checklist unless I was to sit down here and talk to you about it. Like a specific trade, I could go back, like what you do on the trade review show. I could be like, well, now that I'm looking at it, what was I taking in that I didn't realize? The stochastics were curling up on two different time frames. It was like there was a 2 minute or 1 minute into a 2 minute. The moving averages were below you, whatever it was, or there's the ATR is really high right now, so I'm going to take it. The ATR is really low, so I'm not buying at the trigger. I'm going to wait for the pull down, and I'm going to buy at the bottom of the previous 2 minute candle. So
Mhm.
all that stuff starts coming in, but there's nothing that I have written out, and it's like I describe it like, Drew, you do jujitsu. I describe it as kind of like jujitsu. It's like, yeah, there are moves, yes, there's stuff, but no two submissions for the most part happen the same way. It's like you're doing something, you're feeling it, you're
Oh,
maneuvering. Oh, this is happening. Okay, I got to do this, and that's
yeah.
kind of how it is. And with the trade, it's like, oh, there's my chance, and it's
Mhm.
kind of like that. I'm kind of feeling and trading, and what's the PI like, and it's kind of like that kind of dance really early in the day, and then I establish where I'm at, and I kind of go from there until something changes.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, Gator. That's something I've noticed, and I'm curious about your thoughts on it. Um, we've had, I want to say, there was one guy who came in who's been doing it for 15 years, who works as a prop trader, and he trades a lot of aftermarket.
Mm.
And we were reviewing one of his trades, and I asked him, I'm like, "Oh, do you have a written plan?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Well, my next question is, how long have you been doing this?" And there seems to be a correlation between not having a written plan and success. And I think that is confusing in a lot of ways because, um, like you said, you have a lot of this stuff in your head because I think at some point, maybe it was written down, but it's gotten so embedded into who you are. It's like, I don't need to think about doing an arm bar. I just need you in the right place and my body will do the rest. Right.
Yep.
Um, and when I look at like JR's trades, like I'm like, there's no way this dude has any of this written down. It's in his body. Like he just knows. And I'm curious about what you think about that sort of that correlation between like like even with Oliver Velez, I doubt his plays are written down anymore. Um, that hey, like I'm successful, I'm consistently profitable, and I don't have these trades written down anymore. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think that's probably true because once you get so comfortable with something, it's like riding a bike. You take the training wheels off, in a sense, and when you start doing something after so much or you just become so proficient at it,
Mhm.
and not that I'm like super overly proficient all the time, but it just like it's second nature. It's like you said, it's like I just need the stock to be in that same position. I just need to feel it. It's like I've seen this movie before. It's like I know when to
Yeah.
stop trading Tesla. It's not feeling right now. I wake up, it's like it's just not moving good. It feels weird. I'm not going to do that. um, it's like, oh, this name just feels right, and you can't always put your finger on it. But I think Geronimo talked about it when he came on the first time. It's kind of like just that time in front of the screen, man. It's
Yeah.
it, you can't sub for that, and the more you're in there, and the longer you do it, the better you're gonna get. And what up, Rose? Welcome.
Same.
And yeah, and what Rose is saying, the plan needs to be flexible. And so this is like this in the military and anywhere, business. This is just a truism. There's a reason, and you could go back to like World War II, and we could even go to Japan and Germany. The dictators are not the best rulers or military fighters
Mhm.
when they don't have decentralized command. If you center everything under like one specific plan that is stringent, that is like perfectly, it has to meet all this criteria exactly. Now maybe if it's the perfect plan, but in reality there's no such thing as the perfect plan. It's like all of this stuff was going and it was perfectly matched up at this exact perfect point, and the ATR was exactly this, and the stochastic cross at exactly this point. It's like that's 1% of your trades where you
Mhm.
have like the magic one. It's just like, ah, the clouds
Yeah, the
open.
stars align.
So, just like in business, just like in real life, just like in the military, a plan has to be flexible. And at any moment, you're choosing to identify, like, oh, I have a plan, but what's actually happening in front of me? And I'm adapting and I'm shifting to what's actually happening in the market in front of me within my plan. What's my plan? My plan is to, and like my trading plan is like two or three things I just write down in the morning. Like today, it was like size down, probably inside day. It was just like write a few things that you want to be honest about, and then it's just like, okay, I'm operating within this wide parameter of things.
Yeah.
So it's not this very specific. It's like, what am I looking for? Okay,
Hmm.
I'm looking for relative strength and to play the Momo, or weakness. If the market's going up, what I'm looking for is, okay, what names are following it? What names are weak? Okay, so the market's ripping and Amazon is sitting still or going down. Okay, so if the Qs roll over, I'm shorting Amazon. And my plan is flexible and it's not a stringent like like dictatorial thing that must be followed exactly to the T.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've kind of experienced that same thing, but that.
Yeah, so I love this idea. So I think there's a couple things that I want to tie in from what you said. And I just want to answer Matt's
Mhm.
Matt, do you go through a checklist before you execute each trade? I want to say most of the time. Always need to be flexible, Rose said. The plan is sometimes different with different stocks. Yeah. And what you were saying, Gator, like decentralized command, right? I guess the part that I like to contrast this with is I do two styles of jujitsu. One's called Danzanru Jiu-Jitsu, and then I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. And day one of Danzanru is learning how to do this move with your arm. I know it looks so benign, but it shows up in so many techniques down the line. But we have you do that. Now, are you going to use that into a fight? Unlikely. Um, but there's a plan there to learn how to move the mechanics of your biology in a specific way. And the same thing with the arm bar. Like we do these katas of, okay, you're going to lay on your back, you're going to reach your arm up, and I'm going to spin around and put you in an arm bar. And I feel that um, the new trader, the white belt, is is different from that black belt, and that the white belt needs to have a stringent plan of, I need to feel this arm pushing up. So I recognize that this is my time to do the arm bar. But the black belt is saying, I'm just going to wait because I know at some point his arm's going to do this, and now I have it because that's all I need. But they're two very different places.
Mhm.
And I'm curious about what you think. How do you build that flexible plan from maybe a rigid plan, or where do you get to build that flexible plan where you have the flexibility to move around and be a black belt? Where's the white belt trader? What are the skills and things that they need? What are your thoughts on
The
it?
simple C strategies are where the white belt trader needs to be. And you're coming into it, you need to have something that's so simple. Like you don't start off doing the most complicated Q range moves unless you just have the intellect to look at it and to know. For me, it's like, no, man, you need to be doing the stuff that's just simple, that's easy. It's like you need to recognize strength. It's like, yeah, mark one, know your limit eight, green takes red. It's like 5 minute breakout. You need to go, oh, hey, bots. There's bots here. Remove. Oh, I meant to report that one. Hang on. I need to have moderators so we don't. I'll report that. And I should do it as child abuse. Is
Yeah,
it hate speech or graphic violence? It's sexually
it's
explicit. We got bots.
to answer Scott, to answer
Sorry, let
your
me remove these.
question, do you use trade saving? Because yeah, I used to write a lot more algorithmic trading code than I do now. So yes, I had written a lot of code in easy language.
So I hid that user, so we're fine. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, cool.
Um,
Yeah, so
so
you were
yeah,
saying.
you start off really simple, and you start off with that just straight. Yeah, you start off with just that simple C strategy, and then you build from there. It's like you just have the stuff that works, and you build your confidence by winning. So it's like I just build my confidence when I started just by it's like, hey, I just trade this, and it was just working. It's like I said, all I did was take Apple. It was like I took Apple one and done, mark one, know your limit eight, know your limit 21, and went back to work. It's like I had 4 or 5 trades, and my trading plan, I didn't write it down back then, but it was literally sitting down, doing that every day. And it was just like I just did it every day. And it worked from an 8,000 account and all the way up until I was about 18, 20,000. I started trading Tesla. And that was it. And it was just those simple things until I trusted those strategies so much that it was just second nature to identify a strong Mark 1 as opposed to a weak Mark 1. So I had failed days, but it was like I just traded those strategies so much, and they're so simple, so easy, and so effective that you could do them. And then through doing that, you learn, oh, wait, this one doesn't look right. This one looks like the one that failed the other day.
Yeah.
And so if I was talking to a new white belt, it wouldn't be to learn all the ins and outs of the market. It would just be, okay, look for this. And it'd just be the Mark 1. Just learn that. It'd just
Yeah.
be the green takes red. Wait for a name that is above the first 2 minute high that pulls back on a red 2 minute time frame candle, buy the next breakout and sell 10 seconds later.
Mhm.
That would be it. You do that until you get confidence in yourself as a trader, and then per se that's your belting up. Okay, you belted up. Now we have to teach you something a little bit more difficult. So the C strategies are still my base, but they're just, it's like if you had a black belt retake a white belt test, it'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to retake a C strategy test.
Mhm.
It's the
Yeah, no,
other stuff. Yeah.
I love what you're saying, and I couldn't agree more that I think the concreteness of a very simple plan in the beginning allows you then to incorporate more information later on. It's just too much. I mean, I'm sure you see it. I'm not where, do you mind me asking where you're at in your jujitsu journey?
I'm still like, I've only been doing it for like 6 months, still like white belt
Okay.
with a tab or whatever.
Yeah, it's like it's almost too much information when it's like, hey, learn how to get out of side control, learn how to get out of mount, learn how to get out of guard, do these three guard escapes, it's like it's info overload. But if you're like, hey, just learn how to escape mount for the next month,
Mm-hmm.
like you will be an expert at escaping mount, and it will pay dividends for years to come. And I feel like that's sort of like what you're saying. Sorry for all the jujitsu
No,
analogies,
you're
guys.
good.
You don't do jujitsu.
Even if you don't
Um,
apply this to whatever, guys, but the
yeah,
the
like, but
result is the same. The
it's
the topic.
if people play Go, I used to play a huge, used to love playing Go. I do play some chess. I'm not very good at it, but you see the same thing happen over and over and over. But until you put in the little pieces, the C strategies, or like the queen to the pieces to the middle in chess, or I forget the name of the move in Go. Like you see it happen over and over and over. So I couldn't agree with you more. I think that was a great explanation.
Thanks. And I like the fighting like references that you bring in. I think I think it is easy to understand even if you don't do the fighting. You could apply it to any job thing that whenever you start something, it's just simple, and you learn the simplest things first.
Yeah.
And then as you go from that, you build on, and you can always go back to it. Like you can always fall back on what you already know
Hmm.
when the new stuff, when you're having a hard time with it. But if you start at the top and start trying to do the most complicated things, you're going to have a harder time. And yeah,
Uh,
it's Tesla was definitely, Amazon was good today. I'm going to miss Amazon, but I hope that it's good after the split. I hope maybe it turns into
yeah.
Tesla. Who knows?
Maybe. It's sort of what you're saying reminds me of I have a spot out in the woods where I stacked up tires and people come out and train with me. And if we just start sparring right away, they're having hands thrown at them, they're being trying to be thrown, they're getting kicked, like it's too much. And like I feel like that's analogous to the market, where if you just go in and throw your money at it and you're like, hey, I'm ready, let's real money this thing, you just get your ass kicked versus taking the time to learn the skill, learn the C strategy.
Yep.
Uh,
Learn it, understand it, be so comfortable with it that it's just there. CT did
yeah.
it when he was talking about how good and stuff he did. Let me
Mm-hmm.
make sure I'm not missing a comment in this. Somebody threw one in for us in the trading chat just because I don't.
Nice.
I'll look at it. I think it was already, it was something else. Sorry, I didn't have that chat open, guys. It is, and you really need to take time to just get simple and then build from there.
Yeah.
Maybe this will fix it, Rose. Sorry, just kind of looking at what Rose has said. Maybe this will fix it. Maybe finally Amazon will be good after the split. Now that more people can buy it, like everyone's gonna be like, "Oh man, I can buy Amazon at whatever it's gonna be," as
Oh
opposed
yeah.
to $3,000. Maybe we get some volatile moves in Amazon post split.
Yeah, and I personally, I know you guys are some of you, I know Rose was like the queen of Amazon. I personally, I would look at that spread and I was like, nope, just not for me. I think that's what makes um, trading so unique and special is that it is such a personal thing. And there are so many choices in it that you get to make.
And no matter your style or what you are, if you like the more technical stuff, and it's not like I'm
Mm.
knocking, Elizabeth and others ask, it's like, oh, do you have a specific checklist? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if that's something that helps you. If you need that, I know some people like kind of need that, but I really find the flexibility of not being very strict, and I am, and I am more stricter, but kind of having that flexibility in your mindset as opposed to looking for exact, like almost computer algorithm level things, to be better because I'm not a computer.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I get, and it's sort of like touch on that. Blade Man, yeah, I do a lot of coding, and I can tell you just like algorithmically computing Mark's algorithms is not hard. Like they're not complicated strategies, um, but there are, and you can't take every one. It doesn't work in the long term. So there's special things that are happening in there that we as people are calculating and going beyond just the simple three or four rules that he has.
And things that we spot, the human element. I mean, I guess unless you're somebody with millions, like these hedge funds that throw the money in there. And Geronimo's like, yeah, you got to front run the level because it's gonna pop at this exact second, and it does as soon as it hits that level to the penny. So but I don't have the money to program algorithms, so I have to be like to the level of like with the money that those people do. So I kind of have
Oh,
to,
yeah,
I gotta use that human element to just ride the wave of the computers buying and selling stuff to make my money.
absolutely. Yeah, they have a lot more firepower for
Yep.
sure, without a doubt. Cool. I want to see. What is he saying? All moves are going to be told to stick to Amazon.
Yeah, because of how they're gonna trade.
I wanted to follow up with you, Gator, when you said that you allow a lot of flexibility, but I know you've been extremely successful at this, and I'm curious about like what do you think the top two things are that you're extremely disciplined about when it comes to those strategies or trading?
I mean, you'd have to kind of. What do you mean? Like within everything?
Yeah,
Adapt.
so you were just mentioning like having flexibility in your trading plan. Like this one Mark One isn't as good, but maybe it has some really like there's some nuance to taking those C strategies and
What's
having like variety, but there's also I'm sure space where you're like, no, I do not ever bend this rule.
I
So I'm
don't.
curious about them.
I don't really. The only really rule I don't bend is if I'm red and I come back to green, I get off.
Okay.
Um, it's just like at that point, you've saved your day. You don't need to make. It's just like okay, you're done. You can live to fight to tomorrow. Um, Other than that, when it comes to names, the thing that I've been most is my ability to is kind of like adapting with the Tesla. The third breakthrough on the 2 minute green takes red within the same 2 minute candle. So it's like the candle, you'll trade a name. I've traded that breakout 3 times, or it's the third time that goes through. It's just like
Mhm.
identifying that and being willing to adapt. Is that part of any strategy? No, it was a failed 2 minute breakout. So just if you take the strategy at face value, you're like, okay, I'm done. Can't trade it now. It's like, no, I'm going to take the second breakout and the third breakout because it's going to do it 3 times. And the third time, I'm going to hold it when it stops. And the previous 2 times it ripped down. Why? The third time it's going to pop. And so I'm either going to take a little loss or break even, but that's when I give myself the chance to get that little pop. It's identifying. It was like the video I did on trading Tesla, on how I trade Tesla when it moves. And I was like, I don't remember the name of the video, but you go back and look. It was like the making whatever amount in Tesla. Um, I was like, okay, Mark at that time or prior to that was like, well, I'm just gonna wait. Or other people would say it. I'm just gonna wait for the pullback. It's like, well, Tesla didn't pull back. It runs for 10 minutes and then it fails and it's the backside of the mountain and it goes down. It's like, yo, I'm just gonna actually catch the move on the way up. So it was doing what now we call the like JR1, the where it's going sideways, and it's like within a candle it's going up, and I talk about this in that specific episode, but it's going up, the level 2 slows down and then it goes back up. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to wait for it to stop, pulls down a few cents, okay, the selling stops, I buy as soon as the selling stops, and then it goes more. So that ability to like, that's not a specific strategy, but that's like the ability to just see what's happening in front of me and take it. So the strict trader misses that whole Tesla run. It's like, well, there's no setup here. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, but there's opportunity within there to make money. And so having a so strict strategy is just something that hasn't, like when it comes to that, hasn't worked. On the flip side, when I did my Google Stochastics video, which I still do and I still use that strategy,
Mhm.
I said in that video, once you're done with your first sell, I have a like 90% lose rate if I try to trade it again before the stochastic setup again. That still holds true. So rules like that, it's like if I jump in on a stochastic play and it goes up and then I sell it at that and then it doesn't set up on that strategy again, I don't do it again. So it's things that I've noticed. It's like that don't bend in that like Google range play thing. It's like if it's near the top of that range, you're like, man, it could go more. Don't do it. If you're red and you come back to flat, don't do it. It's like
Gotcha.
you just stop. So it's things that I've noticed that I'm strict with. It's like you lose money when you do this. Things I'm flexible with is learning how to adapt the strategies to what's going on in front of me.
Yeah, I think yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious about when you decided you were going to allow some flexibility within those mark strategies.
Very early on.
Hmm.
Like it
Was it a number thing? Was it a feeling thing? Like,
it
what
was
was it?
just watching what was happening. It was like, if I'm gonna take this Mark One anyway, why not just buy it now? It was like,
Hmm.
oh, it's like, oh, here's a green candle. All right, okay, we now have a Mark One. It's the bottom at like, okay, the next candle opened. It's like, why wait 30 cents? Why not just buy it now? It's like, and that's just what I thought. And I was like, I'm just gonna buy it right now. Why would I wait for it to trigger? It was like before Mark ever did a front running video, I was front running like,
Hmm.
and it's not that there were a lot of people that were doing it. It wasn't just me, but it was just seeing that in the same way that I was seeing the Tesla one and like the continuation stuff happening. Um, and I think a lot of people who are more flexible, it's kind of like Praveen comes in chat and he's like, I'm shorting Amazon every time it hits VWAP and I'm 5 for 5 right now. It's like
Hmm.
little things like that. I'm flexible with just seeing what's happening. And it's like, well, if I already want to take this strategy, depending on the strategy, I'm just going to get in it right now. Why not? And I'll see what happens. And it
Yeah.
worked. And sometimes it doesn't work. Like sometimes it just whips against you because you're not near a trigger and there could be more selling coming in. So it's not 100%. That doesn't always work.
Mhm.
You know, it's not
So
a
do you think
guaranteed one.
though, when you said like, oh, you had this thought, right? You're like, oh, I'm just going to take this trade. Where was that in your learning process where you started to say, okay, I'm going to expand out a little bit here? Were you consistently profitable at that point?
Yeah, at
Or
that
were
point I had
you three
gone.
months in? Like,
Yeah, I had been doing. Yeah, it was when I was consistently profitable. It
nice.
was definitely after I was consistently profitable. I wouldn't have done it as much beforehand. Like I had
Yeah.
enough a cushion as it was that it was like I could stand to lose the trade.
I got, yeah. And I think that's it's interesting is that you could stand to lose the trade. And I wonder if that's part of that sort of like transition out of white belt is noticing those things, being, and part of that feature of transitioning out of that white belt trader is being consistently profitable and willing to stomach that trade that isn't part of the strict plan.
Mm-hmm. I think so. And Rose said it's called. We used to call it boofing it, and still boofing it. Like we would do that by it, like when it hit the moving average instead of when it popped up. And I think it is that. It's like when you get consistent playing something, you know, it's like this in fighting, and it's probably like this in other things. And anything that's professional, it's like, yeah, there's what the book says, but then there's what works.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the book's there. Yeah, that worked. It was like Amazon was good today. I made money in Amazon today. It was a good. It traded really well today. Um, and you want to get in before it moves. You have to front run Amazon's move when you're doing the scalps that we're doing. You have to anticipate and get in and get out very quick. And it's so much finesse in playing Amazon how it is right now. And how what Rose is talking about, it's not that it's not something that you can have a strict. It's something you have to develop and create almost rules for on the go. It's like, okay, this is working. All right, this is working. It's like it's a feel. It's a dance. It's not
Yeah,
a formula.
I like that. And I think that goes to speak to um, being cognizant of what stocks you're trading. Because maybe Amazon, it doesn't sound, I've never, I've traded Amazon. I'm not a huge fan. But it doesn't sound like a white belt stock from what we're discussing. Sounds like a much higher level.
I would never tell anybody who's new to start trading Amazon.
Right. Yeah. Like, and I think there really is something to that, is that maybe some of the slower stocks, I don't know, like GE or AMD, tighter spread, like that make more sense to a mechanical strategy. And just sort of like looping it full circle is, we can, when you have six eyes looking at your trade, looking at your plan, telling you, like, giving you feedback on something, it may come to you and be like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have been trading, you know, Chipotle today. Or what's that other stock? Salesforce? I don't know. The spread is just insane. I can't remember. I think it might be Salesforce. It's like $1,000 stock as well. So
Yeah,
yeah, Rose,
it's.
Rose, Rose, you are the queen of Amazon. There's no doubt about it. Really?
What do you mean by dial it back in? Sorry, I'm reading. Dial it into what, Blademan? Like you never really thought about how. I mean, I came in really early, or when I came in, it was like at a good time, and I don't think that I think that's I call it providence. I don't believe in luck, but that I started trading in a time when you had an Apple like pre-Apple split and you had it moving, and it was just what I thought was easy to trade, and it was post-COVID, so everything was just going up, um, and it was kind of easy to it was easy to do. Um, and because of that, I kind of leaned in, and I've said that that's one of my strengths. It's like when you see something happening, you just hit it, and you just hit it hard. What up, Graph? So I could literally just hit some of these moves really hard and make my money. And then I made enough to where I could afford to lose, so I could afford to front run a lot earlier, and so I could afford to do this. Pretty much, yeah. If you look at when I started, I think I had one red month or two red months, and then about four. So I started in what month did I start? March. When did COVID? Post COVID. I think it was end of March, April. So I started in March. I think April was red, and then I think June through September were green, and then November was red, and then December got me to six figures.
Nice.
And
That's awesome.
I went from 25K to six figures in a week, basically, like 2 weeks, and it was
Mhm.
just because that was when, and it wasn't. It's not like, oh, you're great. No, it was just I was trading when Tesla happened to be added to the S&P, like or the whatever it got added to back then in that December, and I was just long calls, and I was like, you didn't have to be a good trader to make money. So it's not even that I was like, oh man, you were, you learned, and no, so I just happened to be trading then. And then from there it's adapted to, okay, you know, now how do I keep it? Because how many stories are there about people that made millions and I didn't make
Oh
millions,
man.
but made it and lost it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
now it's just how to not be that.
Yeah. I mean, I get, one of the, which sort of makes me curious is, um, you know, what sort of feedback would you love to have about your trades now that you're right? You're sort of you're way past the wipeout level, right? So when you're thinking
Some
about
days.
receiving, yeah, you're right. When you're thinking about like when you're reviewing your trades, what is the feedback that you're often giving yourself?
I don't know. For me, it's probably different. It's at this point, it's just should you have been trading?
Hmm.
It's like what was the? It's like the risk management part for me because sometimes like I'm cool with a lot of risk, and other times I shouldn't be cool with it. So at this point, to me, it's like when is the risk worth it? Where like do you have an edge? And so that's really what I'm asking myself when I'm trading now. It's am I looking to make money or is there an edge? And it's in the middle. It's like, okay, am I sitting here at 2 in the afternoon because I'm waiting for this name to hit the 200 for the first time today so I can go long or short? Or am I tilting because I'm trading just because I'm sitting here? And usually when I'm trading looking for intelligent trades, I'm fine. And the trick is trading to trade and knowing when it's worth trading and not. So it's like looking at everything. When I look back and it's like, man, I gave back half my day there, and I start scanning, I'm like, wait, I shouldn't have even been trading.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing here.
I've
You're
been
there's
there.
and that's where I'm at. It's right now anyway. It's like should you have been trading? Was
Yeah.
this trade good enough to or this name? Was there something actually worth trading here?
Mhm.
And so
There's
yeah.
two things that sort of stand out to me when what you were saying is that one is that skill of mindfulness in like in the moment, in the fray. Like it can be hard to step back and recognize like, do I have an edge or am I just trading to trade right now?
Mhm.
Um, and what also sort of stood out was, well, how do we gauge? And this I guess it goes out to the chat too, is how do you engage yourself to recognize the difference between those two? Because you may notice and say, okay, am I sitting here to trade or do I have an edge? And you're like, no, I got an edge, right? But
It was like Rose in Amazon today. She's like, I got an edge all day, baby. Like I'm good.
mhm,
And there's and that's hard for some people. It's like some people have an edge, but I might not have that edge today.
yeah,
Like you might have that edge because you're trading really well, but do I have an edge? Not is there other people making money hitting home runs? Like if JR is just shorting the Qs or going long and he's killing it, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, I can't make money. Okay, what
and
me?
I think that kind of like speaks to what Elizabeth said in the beginning here is and somebody else mentioned it too, is do you have a checklist? So when you have this objective criteria, it sort of can bring your subject into an oddball. Yeah, it sort of brings the subjective experience of am I bending or am I not bending into an objective format of saying, okay, do I have relative strength? Is it at the 21? Is there a current C strategy? And if the answer is no, well, then maybe one is bending. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that sort of checklist can help facilitate that objectifying, that subjective experience that we've all had of, no, I swear I'm not bending. And you look at your profit at the end of the day and you're red four figures.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you were bending.
Yeah, exactly.
You definitely were bending. Because there are
Mhm.
some days when I can sit here like Rose is talking about playing the ranges in Amazon, and I can sit there and look at a 15-minute, 5-minute chart, and I can just scalp the range in a name, no problem. It's not even. It's just like free money all day. There are other days I come into that same name, man, and it's impossible. It's like, yo, I can't get it. I'm not getting it. And
Yeah.
you're just off, and you have to identify that. And breaking rules, yeah, I mean, part of it is finding stuff that works. There's stuff I do when I'm trading, and I'm not calling stuff out, guys. That I don't call, I don't talk about because it's not like me and CT. I think have talked about it before. It's like it's really not possible to teach this, like what Rose is doing in Amazon or what I do. Like we've talked through it, but it's such finesse. There's not rules to the level that we could put down that if I gave this to somebody else that they could trade with it. Like Rose can tell me what she's talking about in Amazon here, and I know exactly what she means. And I
Yeah.
can go trade it, but it's only because I've done it and I've sat in front of the charts watching Amazon and I've done it. And so I just know by doing it. And then there's other things like a Mark 1, which everybody can do.
Yeah.
It's right there. It just broke out. You had a lot of volume. It's trending. The next 1 minute breakout, buy it. Then sell it 5 seconds later. There's your point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what you mentioned about Rose having a very like a finesse to this thing, and I think that's really what differentiates. And I've seen this in like MMA, and I see it and I see it sometimes in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu more than I see it in Danzanru because Danzanru was developed as a teaching art, whereas Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is developed as more of a competitive sport. And because of that, the emphasis is not on teaching. So for somebody who is very well experienced, knowing like, yeah, dude, like when I feel this, I do that, and like, how could you not do that? How could you not see this thing in the chart? How could you not see this setup? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like I can feel the time in sales. I can feel the level two. Um, and when you have all that sort of like transition from like knowing and the subjective experience to having to objectify it and put it down and teach it, those are two very different skill sets. Very, very different.
It helps you grow when you have to teach something. There's a difference in
Oh,
knowing something and being able to teach
yes.
something.
Yeah, exactly. And I bet if we had Rose on the show and I had her for like 2 hours, we could probably figure out what she does with Amazon. It would take a while. She might hate me at the end of it because I'll ask so many questions, but yeah.
You'd almost have
Um,
to see it happen live. Like if I was
yeah,
sharing my screen, but even then, until you started doing it, like there's
yeah.
just a finesse to some things that you just actually have to do. But and that's one of the benefits because a lot of guys like you guys going back to the trade review show have asked like, oh, you want me to do a lot more of the trade review. Where here's an opportunity for the Discord room as a whole to do trade reviews, and I will come on it sometimes and do it myself. But you have it right here in Discord. You can go here. You can do the shows when Drew does them. We can change the name here, and people can actually post the trade or whatever, and they can look at it and see why things might have worked or didn't work. And I'll try to do that with some of my better trades. And yeah, Elizabeth said a little bit ago, we've had like 34, 38 viewers, 13 likes. Smash the like button if you're watching.
Oh yeah.
Share the stuff.
Subscribe too. Don't forget subscribe, like,
Yep.
comment.
All of it. Throw it all on there. Subscribe, like, comment. I appreciate it.
I have to like it. I didn't like it. Smash that like button. There we go.
It went up. I saw it go up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. But yeah, and I think this is a good tool for people to have and to use, and just like you're doing now, like you're doing a great job of counter interviewing the interviewer or asking questions. I appreciate it.
Sorry.
Making it no, you're good, dude. It's great dialogue. I appreciate it, and you have a real good skill for it, and I can tell you have a natural talent for it. I don't know how practiced it is as far as like if you've done stuff like this in the past, but curiosity and you definitely have a natural skill for interviewing and for talking, and I appreciate you coming on and for
Um,
doing this in the Discord with other people. And a lot of what you're doing, the Drew style, that's right, Rose. What you're doing is adding a ton of value, and I'm glad that the Trade Review Show has a home right now. It will adapt,
Thank you.
it will grow. I'm sure you have plans for it or things that we can grow in the future.
Mhm. Yeah, well, yeah, one, I appreciate your kind words. Thank you. it does stem from a natural curiosity and like love of understanding. There's so much depth in trading. One of my interests was I've studied psychology for so long. You know, it was like my thing in college, and I've always felt that we do things that represent the pathologies or the challenges that we face in life through trading or through chess or through whatever hobby
Hmm.
that we've chosen or profession. And to be able to sit there and dialogue about it, like it can change somebody's life just asking the right question. So it's really powerful stuff, and I love being curious about figuring it all out.
Yeah, if you only change one person's, whatever, it's like, yo, you might have just changed that single person's life and helped them figure out how to become a trader and continue to do this, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
all by
Yeah,
doing that.
and I want to put out to like anyone here who watches it later, like please come on the show, guys. If you feel you'd like to sit in the moderator seat and do that, please. I would love to have that happen too. Um, you can come on, share your plan, share your stories, share your trades, and help other people. Like I have no problem taking a back seat for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and having guest people come on. So if you feel your experience, if you're naturally curious, or you just want to help some people, like please write to me. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, definitely, guys. The room is here for people to grow and to go. And one other thing here with Discord, you can see I have like roles, and I'm going to be creating some other stuff with this, including a tab for uh, Newsbeat Live people if you come from that, so we know people that are in there. Um, as far as permissions go. But Drew, like if you're doing something in the room and you're going to be a moderator and stuff, you'll get like you'll probably be moved into this outlaw trader status. It's a way for me to easily give you, per our theme of bandits, market bandits, access to edit things and me to control rights and different stuff for people. If you ever do want to, Drew, show that you're off here, if you right click, you can actually, not here actually, down here. If
Uh,
you click on this, I'm blocking it. You can actually make yourself go away, so people can't see that you're online or off
okay.
just by changing your status here. And for anybody else who wants to do stuff like that, if you do want to know, you can look online at different things to do in Discord on how to remove, people from seeing you or whatever else it is. You'll also see anytime I'm streaming or Drew or anybody else is in an event, it'll post here if you link it. So there's some different stuff that you can do there for you guys to watch out for. But yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Drew, for coming on. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for having me. It was great chatting with you and getting it. I mean, I always hear your voice on Discord. It was great getting to know you and sit down and chat.
Same, and
So
we'll do it
thank
again.
you.
I'll definitely have you on again if you want. You're welcome to come on anytime, and maybe in the next week or two, if you want to come on, we can do it again and kind of follow up. And I'm gonna start trying to use the trade review room a little bit to kind of you know
Mhm.
use it for my benefit and hopefully some other people's too. So, any last words for the people before we call it a night?
Yeah, I think Rose said something. She said 1,000 different ways to trade that work. Got to find what works for you. And coming and getting feedback from peers will help you figure that out quicker. So again, I would encourage you to come to the review 415 to about 450, and we're doing the archives. And if you have questions about the archives, put them in there. Like, let's make it happen, guys. Let's get better together.
All right, let's keep growing, guys. Thank you, Drew, for coming on. Thank you for everybody who
Thank
tuned
you.
in to watch. For you guys that are rewatching, like, share, subscribe, and we'll continue to keep pushing content out there as much as I can, as much as time permits. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. We'll continue to trade smart, and we'll rob the market of what we can do, and we'll leave the rest. So, deuces.